First of all, good evening to everybody. Very warm welcome to Spirit Rock. This is the first time I've had the opportunity to lead a retreat here in 15 years or so. So I'm very glad to be back here once again. And so some of you are very, very familiar faces, others are new. And so that there'll be a mixture of familiarity with the forms and customs that we use during this time. The essential spirit of the monastic retreat, as I've usually run them and led them, is that of being in a temporary monastery for a 10-day period. This is a quieter than usual monastery. Since everyone's on noble silence, monasteries are a little bit more chatty than the formal retreat time. So that's the spirit within which we're gathering. It's like 10 days in a monastery. And so we use our regular monastery routine of a morning and evening chanting and meditation, and using the traditional devotional practices. So we'll begin this evening with just the beginning part of the morning chanting, not to be too confusing, which is entirely in English, and you'll find that in the dark brown chanting books, beginning on page 2. I also should point out that it's not compulsory to be joining in with the chanting, bowing and so on, that nothing is obligatory in this respect, but people are warmly invited to engage if you wish, and particularly those who are very familiar with the chanting, please feel welcome to give good voice, and those who are less familiar with the words and the rhythms and the sound and the spirit of the chanting, they can tag along behind, and probably by the time we get to Sunday of next week, it will all be all on the same, not just on the same page, but also at the same note and the same volume. So we'll see how things evolve in that score. So we'll start off with that, and then after that we'll have a period of silent meditation. The candles are already lit. So. Yo so bhagava arahang samma sambuddho, to the Blessed One, the Lord, who fully attained perfect enlightenment, svakato ye na bhagavata dhammo, to the teaching which he expounded so well, supatipanno ya sabhagavato sāvaka sangho, and to the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well, tamayang bhagavan tang sadhammang sasangang, to these the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha, imehi sakare yata rahang aro pitehi abhipujayama. We render with offerings our rightful homage. Sadhu no pante bhagava suchira parini bhutopi. It is well for us that the Blessed One, having attained liberation, Pachima Janata Nukambamanasa, still had compassion for later generations. Ime sakare dukatapana karabute patiganhatu. May these simple offerings be accepted. Amahakang di karatang hitaya sukhaya, for our long-lasting benefit and for the happiness it gives us. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, Buddhang Bhagavan Tang Abhivademi. I render homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo, the teaching so completely explained by him. Dhammang namasami, I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho, the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Sanghang namami, I bow to the Sangha. Annamayang Buddhassa Bhagavato Bhuvapakanamakaraṅgaromase. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. And we'll chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness in English. And I believe that's found on page 37, again in the dark brown chanting books, volume 1. Is that right? 37? Yeah, very good. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another. or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being free from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. We'll have a period of silent meditation now. We'll keep things fairly short this first evening, as I'm sure many of you have come long distances and had to work very hard to wrap up your various duties, responsibilities in your lives. So just sit for half an hour now, and whatever meditation practice you're familiar with, then just do that for now, and we'll begin with some instruction and guidance tomorrow. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ Dhammāṃ Saṅghāṃ Namasāmi. This evening, by way of introduction, all four of us who are helping to lead this retreat will speak for a little bit. We're aiming for 10 minutes each, but I'm not noted for my brevity, so I'll do my best. My name is Ajahn Amaro, and I've been a monk for 45 years, originally ordained in Thailand, and been living in the West for most of that time, in the UK at Chithurst and Amaravati monasteries, and then here in California, where we started the Apayagiri Forest Monastery in 1996. So that's 28 years ago. That went by very quickly. And by way of this, the theme for this retreat, the Four Noble Truths and Dependent Origination, are they still relevant? I realized by phrasing the title in that way, that was a bit of a rigged question. The kind of people that might sign up for this retreat would probably guess what the answer is already. But I feel it is good to consider, because oftentimes things that are very old and have been around for literally centuries and centuries are considered to be passé. They're worn out. We've surpassed that. We've gone on to new things. These are different times, different energies, and different culture, and so on. So I do feel it is useful, helpful to consider, are these ancient tools and ways of expression, can they still be beneficial and useful to us? And this 10 days that we have together is an opportunity to explore and to find out for ourselves. Having said that, I also feel rather like the teaching on the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination, they're rather like oxygen. Yes, it's been a system that's been around for a long time, aerobic respiration, but 600 million years, the living beings have been using the oxygen to breathe from. I don't know if that's the right number, but a few 100 million years. But it's still quite useful. All of us depend upon the breath, or also the way people design boats nowadays. The way a boat to carry human beings through water. It's pretty much the same design for a boat today as it was 10,000, 20,000 years ago, when our human families started trying to get across water by paddling away and using a wooden vessel to get from one place to another. So I would say that it can be the case that things that are extremely ancient, been around for a long time, can still be extremely relevant in their own in their original forms, as well as having modernized aspects. Many of you will be very familiar with this teachings of the Four Noble Truths and dependent origination. Others maybe not. So very, very briefly, the Buddha said this teaching of the Four Noble Truths. He said, just as the footprint of the elephant is so large that all the footprints of every other animal in the forest will be smaller than that, will fit within it, so too the teaching of the Four Noble Truths encompasses every other teaching. Every other teaching is subsidiary to the Four Noble Truths. It fits within it. So it's like the all-encompassing framework for spiritual practice, spiritual training, and for liberation. So he, as you would say, he really talked it up. It was this is definitely something that is to be considered as the essence or the quintessence of the teaching, that which is truly essential. And the four truths, or four noble truths, and it's helpful to consider they are known as noble truths rather than absolute truths, as Ajahn Sumedho would say. They're called noble truths as they're conventional truths. They're ordinary ideas or principles in the conditioned world, but they lead towards that which is ennobling, that which is liberating, that which is transcendent. So they are noble truths in that they lead to that quality of liberation of the heart, the fulfillment of our human potential. So they're conventional truths, but they're not like a statement of an absolute reality. But they are, when they're understood and worked with, then they can lead towards liberation. So the four truths are that there is the experience of dissatisfaction, discontent, incompleteness that all of us experience from time to time in various different modes. I think that's not too much of an exaggeration. The kind of people who sign up for 10 days of silence and sitting still probably come to the conclusion that you're not totally happy all of the time. That's not presuming too much, I hope. We're not totally happy all of the time, and there's a reason why that's the case. The second noble truth is that lack of contentment, that dissatisfaction, that suffering, that feeling of what's called dukkha in our scriptural language, is the experience of craving, self-centered craving, tanha in the Pali language, scriptural language. So that is the highlighted as the cause. The third truth, or third observation, is that the heart can be completely free of that. Can be completely, devoid of that dissatisfaction, that discontent. It doesn't mean to say that we'll never experience physical pain. So if you read the blurb for this retreat, the ending of suffering, great. That means my chronic knee pain, I can get rid of that, or that I won't have my backache anymore. We're not guaranteeing a freedom from physical pain, but what the third noble truth, the ending of dukkha, is about is the mind can relate to the whole field of experience and not make a problem out of it. Pleasant, painful, beautiful, ugly, wanted, unwanted, familiar, unfamiliar. That's the attitude of the heart, the mind, can be extraordinarily expansive and say free in its relationship to the pleasant, the painful, the beautiful, the ugly, the wanted, the unwanted, and so that ending of dukkha, the third noble truth, that suffering can come to an end, dissatisfaction can come to an end. That's the good news, that we can find a quality of total peace and freedom and ease in our lives. The Four Noble Truths is often described as being like a medical diagnosis. So dissatisfaction is the symptom. The quality of self-centered craving is the cause of the ailment, the spiritual malaise. The prognosis is, yes, curable. And then the fourth truth is called the way leading to the ending of dissatisfaction, dukkha, is the Eightfold Path. So those are the four truths. That's the Eightfold Path is the treatment, the medicine. Now, one of the interesting ways of reflecting on the Four Noble Truths, one of the great teachers of this current age in Thailand, Luang Por Dun, who passed away a few years ago, he was a direct disciple of Ajahn Chah's teacher, Ajahn Mun, and he liked to rearrange the Four Noble Truths according to more accurately according to the timeline. So he arranged them as in the order of 2, 1, 4, 3. So cause of dukkha, treatment of the Eightfold Path, and then the result being the ending of dukkha. And so that way of say seeing that process from the mind being lost in self-centered concerns and cravings, anxieties and aversions, fears and desires, that's the cause. The result is that dissatisfaction, and then using the treatment of the Eightfold Path, then the ending of dukkha can come to be. Dependent origination, yeah. Even though when you open up books on that, you can think, oh my goodness, so many long Pali words. This is really beyond me. And I did put, with shameless self-promotion, put my own book on the suggested reading for this retreat. So, at least you didn't have to buy it. But hopefully it's not too complicated. But the way I like to explain the relevance of that is the fine detail of how you get from truth number 2 to truth number 3, how you get from the cause of dissatisfaction to the ending of it. So that's what the multifaceted teachings on dependent origination are about. It's like the fine anatomy of the transformation that's needed to get from truth 2 to truth 3, from the cause of dissatisfaction to its ending. So that's hopefully during this 10 days that we have together, we'll have the opportunity to explore these very ancient principles, and to see how well, or if at all, that they apply to our lives, and how they can bring about any kind of transformation within us that is genuinely and reliably liberating in an ongoing way. So I wasn't quite within 10 minutes, but I'll leave my offering this evening there and pass things on to Jill on my left.
Nice to be with you all. I'm incredibly honored and grateful to have been invited to be on this teaching team with my most respected teacher. I'd like to humbly say that any misunderstandings or mistakes are completely my own, not my teacher, Ajahn Amaro. But I've been practicing with Ajahn Amaro now 30 years in a variety of forms and ways. In this retreat, or on this retreat, I'll be holding, I better time myself, holding a couple of hats, let's say, or wearing a couple of hats. One is of a Dhamma teacher, and the other is of the movement teacher. So hopefully I'll be able to satisfy both roles to my liking, I should say, but probably because I don't know how you will meet what I do. But I do want to say that I have a mind that mixes things up. I tend to turn things upside down, inside out, sideways, and backwards. So sometimes my sentences might sound like I never learned grammar, because I kind of couldn't. I'll mix up my right and my left. You might hear me confuse words or spelling of words. So hopefully you'll find a little bit of humor in that and not frustration. And the reason I'm telling you that also, to give myself a little bit of, disclaimer, is because when I came to this practice, I was in an incredible amount of physical pain. And I sat on many, many retreats with Ajahn Amaro and needed to find a relationship with my body, because I didn't care for my body at all. And I didn't quite absorb the teachings in the Pali as much as I think I wanted to, but what I did rely on and still rely on, and it is because of this tradition, the forest monastery tradition, is to rely on my own direct experiences. And so I really dove into my body and sensed things, and I continue to do that, and I'm fascinated by it. So hopefully part of my role that I might be able to help you with is the somatic aspect, the felt sense aspect, the embodiment aspect of Dhamma. That's what I understand. And so when as much as I can, of course, but And when it comes to the truths, the Four Noble Truths, I find that the aspect of clinging, well, first of all, of suffering and discomfort, is obviously why I came to any kind of retreat or practice. But the second noble truth, the truth of clinging, I really feel it. I sense it. And I sense it in sensation. And that has freed me somewhat from trying to figure it out in my mind, which I feel has been a great gift to me. So hopefully I can pass that, a little bit of that along to you. And the Ayurvedic medical model that Ajahn Amaro mentioned also makes a lot of sense to me. I wasn't well in body, mind, or heart. I wanted to get well, and I started to take the medicine as I understood it. And I do that still today. So I find that practice is, for me, is very self-prescribed. What's good for me right now? What would be supportive of my heart, my mind, my body, me being in the world as much as possible. And so I apply the truths in a way that I can to support myself and to support myself being in the world with everyone. And in terms of dependent origination, I think it's helpful for me, it was helpful for me to read, know, and begin to accept that it's not linear. It's like, okay, so, nothing has to follow one thing after another in particular, but it's how do we sense the chain of events, or the ways in which we create suffering for ourselves, or how we can break the chain. And breaking the chain, well, I've learned from the Ajahn tradition that one of the weakest links of the chain is Vedana, is feeling tone. And again, I sense that. I really can sense the feeling tone, pleasant, unpleasant, even neutral, and I begin to find my own shape and form and breath, just absolutely reacting, responding, getting loud, getting quiet, or just shifting in that way. So the truths and the dependent origination make sense to me in a way that is really through the body, but through the material form of consciousness. So it's not just the body, but the material form of consciousness. And also, I like to use my mind. I think, minds are great. The mental form of consciousness. And the breath can be, I believe, the bridge between both. Very subtle, very beautiful, very shape-shifting, very relieving, very uplifting, and very informative. So I think, I don't keep track of time that well, but I think that's basically all I'd like to say. And I hope that each one of you can take the practices in ways that you can absorb them, and you can walk around with them, and you can embody them. What makes sense to you is important, and that your heart, especially your heart, but your body, mind, heart, will begin to relax a little, settle a little. We'll try to help you with that. And that the heart can let go, because the heart, I find, really, really relishes and loves silence. So if this is your first retreat, second retreat, and you're not quite sure about not talking, that's the easy part. But when you appreciate and really start to sense, even in this room, the deep silence that's here, hopefully that will be of great support to you in just letting go a little bit, letting go, breathing out, letting go, and creating a little bit more spaciousness inside. So, thank you.
Is Ray here? Guess she isn't. Okay. Ralph Steele. Ralph Mitchell Michael Steele. Pawleys Island, South Carolina. English is my second language. Gullah is my primary. My bones are 74 years old. It's been 20 years since I've been here. And it's a real honor that my dear friend, Amaro, Ajahn, Ralph, I want you to co-teach this with me. I said, okay. This is, you all are experiencing something very extraordinarily special. And some of you, or most of you have heard the word monks, and some of you have heard the word monastic and forest monks. But do you know what that means? Okay. When you look at these monastics here, these forest monks, when you look at them, you are seeing close to 90% of all of what they have. All of what they have for their life, clothing, and so forth. They cannot touch money. Everything that goes into their mouth is given to them. Everything. Even if they walk by a tree and there's a fruit on the ground. No. Everything. So they depend on the community in that area. If you take, most of you have done retreats before, and some of you, this is your first time. But if you notice in the schedule, there's 45 minutes sitting, 45 minutes walking. Okay. If you total up just one day of 45 minutes of sitting, it comes to 6 hours. When they are not in retreat, they're somewhere around 6 to 10 hours a day they're practicing. They're not in retreat. When they're in retreat, it goes up as high as 18 hours a day. You need, they reserve 4 hours for lying down. Sometime it's utilized, sometime it isn't. Every quarter moon, that's eliminated, that 4 hours between 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. There's always a list of people, waiting list, who would like to meet their medical needs, whatever, in the home country, because they know what the practice does. They know that. And so they know people who have dedicated their life to do this is beyond, there's no word that could express how extraordinary a forest monastic is. Thai Airways, there's no charge. monks. They walk in like the President of the United States. Wherever he goes, everything is very special for him. But he needs guards and everything. Well, this is the same thing, but without any kind of guards. Walk in a restaurant, the chefs come out. How can I help you? This is what's making this retreat special, is having their presence, just their presence here. And with regards to teaching to lay people, some of them said, no, they just practice. And there are some that share their wisdom. And the teachings of the nobility and the interdependent originations. These are the two highest teachings. It just doesn't get any better than this. So you have an opportunity, a very extraordinary opportunity, even though you only have 10 days. It's going to go by very fast. And so as we hear, we can take care of each other, helping each other. Whatever needs you need, we will try our best to meet it. Welcome.
Thank you, Ralph, for that very kind introduction. These microphones are very advanced. I have to get used to them. So, good evening. And my name's Ajahn Nyaniko. I've been a monk for 21 years, ordained with Ajahn Amaro, Ajahn Pasano. So it's an honor to be here with one of my original teachers, and also very nice, delightful to be able to be up here also with Jill and Ralph, co-teaching a retreat. I was last year, 6 years ago, helping co-lead the family camp, Spirit Rock, but as far as a retreat like this, I've never been invited or taught something like this here. I did attend a Spirit Rock retreat when I was in Anagarika, when I was wearing white before I ordained. That was 22 years ago. That was 2002, and it was Ajahn Suchito and Sister Chandasiri leading a week-long retreat here, and I believe it was in this hall. And that was a very good experience. That was near the end of my Anagarika year. I was about to become a novice at that time. And I can't say I've always, in the last 23 years since I've went to Abhayagiri to stay, I can't say I've always lived up to those ideals that Ralph just mentioned, but definitely been a struggle. But those are inspiring ideals, and we do try to live up to those, but certainly practice is a struggle, and we're going to be up here practicing with you. We're not just going to give teachings and then go lay down or something. We're going to be meditating with you here, or go look at our phones or read the news or something, we'll be up here practicing with you, struggling along with you. We're all in this together. And the theme, I love this theme, the Four Noble Truths, dependent origination. I love to contemplate the Four Noble Truths and look into them in various ways. Really, this is the teaching that is the heart, the very heart of the Buddha's teaching. So how do we connect with it? And I really think of the Four Noble Truths as a summary of dependent origination, or it's just a different form of dependent origination. Anything in the Dhamma teachings, it's like a sheet on the ground. Anywhere you pick it up, the whole sheet comes along with it. The Four Noble Truths, you pick that up, dependent origination, everything else, the Noble Eightfold Path, the discipline that we follow, everything comes up along with it. Everything is connected together. And in terms of just talking about a way to contemplate the Four Noble Truths at the outset of a retreat like this, fairly long retreat, 10-day retreat, we get to spend time together, practicing together, going in this deep dive together. So I want to put it out there that the first Noble Truth, what it's pointing to is that there is suffering. And not only is there suffering, but it's something we're creating. It's not coming from outside. So that's the first Noble Truth. It's something we're doing. There's something we're doing, and we can stop doing it. It is possible to stop suffering. So suffering, there is suffering, and it's something we're doing. And it's coming from inside. It's not coming from outside. It's not being imposed on us from any external force. It's actually completely coming from inside. But there's an illusion that it's coming from outside. And mental defilements are trying to look for an object outside to pin it on. It's because of this that I'm suffering. And that the second noble truth that suffering is caused by a craving. Suffering is caused by craving. That is incredible. That's an incredible teaching when we really go into it, when we really think about it. That suffering is because what do we, in our heart of hearts, deep down inside, what do we think our suffering is coming from? So, and we'll find if we just ask ourselves, I'm suffering because, so my suffering is caused by the fact that my friends and family have a different political view than me. My suffering is caused by all of the horrific things happening in the world that make me feel sad and suffer over them. My suffering is caused by the fact that there is sickness in the world. My suffering is caused by COVID-19. My suffering is caused by my friend who doesn't believe in COVID-19. Suffering and frustration is caused by whatever a political candidate is or isn't in office. That's all wrong. That is not the Buddha's teaching. So suffering is caused by craving. That's the second Noble Truth. So we look into that. And to put that out there at the outset, my suffering is caused by that teaching I didn't want to hear. So just to throw that out there, this is for your reflection. It's not a absolute statement. But at the outset, because when we enter a retreat like this, I also think of it as entering the mandala. If for those of you who have been on many retreats, you'll know that the second full day is usually the difficult day. So we have high ideals, we want to become peaceful, we want to go deep in our meditation, and then usually those ideals aren't met. Actually, rarely they are met, if ever. And so on the second day, we can get a bit depressed, despondent, and then we get through that, and then we've entered the mandala, we're through the gate, and then we're in the retreat. So if anybody is to leave, it's the second day. This has happened many times. I've even said when we would do these Thanksgiving retreats, that we're actually not having one this year, but we do these Thanksgiving retreats that we've done them annually, and even saying this at the beginning, that on day 2, if anybody's going to leave, it's going to be on day 2, and even giving people a heads up about it, and then still people leave on day 2, even though I warn them. It's just, you get to know these. This is how it goes. This is how it goes on retreat. So these are just, I'm just very, very happy, very grateful to be here, and I hope that I'm looking forward to this time of practice. It's good for us as well. It's not just for all of you, and truly hope that we all get to come to a better understanding of the Four Noble Truths, independent origination on a heart levels that our suffering can ease, and we can develop a sense of ease and well-being, and with that a sense of gratitude for for what we're a part of. It's so amazing what we're a part of, Buddha Dhamma. It's incredible that we're able to be a part of this. So yeah, I'm very grateful to be here. I'll just leave it at that for an introduction this evening.
Thank you very much indeed for all of you for your words. I could add, of course, a lot more. But just to mention, I feel very, very happy to be co-teaching with Ajahn Nyaniko for the first time. I've led events together with Ralph and with Jill in the past, but kind of with my own kid. It's really quite very, very sweet. I mean, it is amazing that 28 years have gone by since Abhayagiri began. But and also, I think, if I remember correctly, Ajahn Nyaniko does have a connection with Jack Cornfield and Spirit Rock, because it was his dad, I think, wandering through a bookshop, and a copy of Still Forest Pool kind of dropped off the shelf into his hands, and he thought, "Wow, this is amazing, and I better tell my son about this." And then his dad then introduced him to these Buddhist teachings down in Cambria, down in the Big Sur area. And so then, having read that collection put together by Jack, then he found his way up to Abhayagiri and didn't leave. 23 years ago? 23 years ago. Exactly 23 years ago. So it's a great pleasure. Just to let you all know, it's a particularly great pleasure to be able to co-lead this event and share this time together. So the next part of our evening is formally committing to the 8 precepts, and this is the framework, the structure for our sort of agreed standard for the retreat. And so that I think you'll find the words on page 131, and we can have a bit more light. Whoever's got the magic wand. 130 in the dark brown chanting books. And just to say a little bit about the framework of the 8 precepts. This was established by the Buddha very unusually. It wasn't in the context of any kind of dialogue or particular encounter with anybody else, but it was really he established the 8 precepts as his own creation, really. And his consideration was, what kind of form, what kind of structure can we put together to support lay people's practice? And originally it was just in terms of the observing the moon days, as Ralph was mentioning on the 4 quarters of the moon. So, well, maybe on the 4 quarters of the moon, if the lay community, if they keep to this standard of the 8 precepts, they will be living as the Arahants do, and that'll be for their long-lasting welfare and happiness. So I feel, rather than thinking of the 8 precepts as like no, and the Buddha is the one who knows, like no. Pun intended. It's rather it's drawing upon your own pure heart, your own heart of hearts that aspires or loves that quality of gentleness, of honesty, of simplicity, and so that the 8 precepts is defining this is how an arahant, a totally enlightened being, naturally behaves. And so when we adopt those behaviors, then we can experience directly the benefits and the peacefulness and clarity that comes from living in those ways. So that was the origin of the 8 precepts. And so even though it's in the languaging, it's I undertake the precept to refrain from, then the spirit behind it is living as the arahants do. So you get to live as the arahants do for a whole 10 days. And then you can see and feel the direct results that come from that. So once again, those who are familiar with the words of this, I encourage you to give full voice, and those who are not so familiar with the ceremony or the words, then you can tag along behind. So usually you begin with the request. I think Susan, you're front center. If you're, it doesn't have to be you, but my young Bhante is the opening line to make the request for the opportunity to determine 131, page 131. Yeah. That's right. Mayang Bhante Ti Sarane. Good enough. Good enough. Yes. So I'll recite the Namo Tassa 3 times. After I finish the 3rd time, then all of you who would like to voice this determination and can join in together. So I'll do it 3 times. After I finish the 3rd time, then that's your cue. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchāmi. Sarana gamanang nititang. Okay, so now we get on to the statement of the precepts. Panati pata verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature. Adinadana verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Abrahmacharya verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity. Musavada verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Sura meraya majapamadhatana verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness. Vikala bhojana verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times. Nacha, this is a very long one, so do this in short chunks. Okay? Nacha Gita Vadita Visukadasana Malaganda Vilepana Dharana Mandana Vibhusanatana Verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification and adornment. Ucha sayana mahasayana verapmani sikaparang samadhiyami. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high or luxurious sleeping place. Imani yata sikapadani silena sugatinyanti silena boga sambara silena nibutinyanti tasama silang visodaye. So as I think Doug has already made very clear in the opening announcements, that the fourth precept on Musavada, which technically means to refrain from lying. That's ramped up a few notches to refraining from conversation. So, and as was being said in these reflections, that that quality of silence is a great blessing for yourself and also for the people around you. And so we heartily, warmly encourage you all to sustain that the standard of noble silence during this time. Also, the fifth precept shouldn't need any explanation, but nowadays with the legalization of marijuana and THC-laden gummies and such like, if you have brought such medications that might have intoxicating effects, I would encourage you to leave them in your car, and to just in case you have a few stashed in your drawer. That it shouldn't need to be mentioned, but now that medications that people need, sometimes they can be overused and used for inappropriate purposes. So please act responsibly with respect to any medications that you have and that you need for any ailments that you're dealing with in these days. So I thought we would also finish, since dependent origination is the secondary theme, we will use the Pali chanting of that. Those of you who've done Goenka retreats will have heard Goenkaji reciting these words. I believe I've never done a Goenka retreat myself, but I understand that he regularly recites these passages. So this is in the golden-colored chanting books, page 68. So begins with the words Avijja Pachaya Sankhara. Avijja Pachaya Sankhara. So again, I'm pretty sure most of you will be not very familiar with this, so it'll be a bit kind of croaky and a bit fragmented to begin with, but it really is valuable to learn these words and to get a clear sense of this, the sequences of these links, these terms, and so I thought we would be regularly reciting this. So page 68, beginning with the words Avijja Pachaya Sankhara. Okay? In the golden-colored chanting books. Not the dark brown ones, the golden ones. Yeah, that's it. Page 68. Avijja Pachaya Sankhara. Okay? All good. Avijja Pachaya Sankhara Sankhara Pachaya Vinyanang Vinyana Pachaya Namarupang Namarupapachaya Salayatanang Salayatana Pachaya Bhasobha Sambhachaya Vedana Vedana Pachaya Tanha Tanha Pachaya Upadanang Upadana Pachaya Bhavo Bhava Pachaya Jati Jati Pachaya Jara Maranang Soka Paride Vadukka Domana Subhaya Sa Sambhavanti Evame Tatsakevala Saduka Kanda Sasamudayo Hoti Avijayataveva Ase Savira Ganiroda Sankara Nirodho Sankara Niroda Vinyana Nirodo Vinyana Nirodha Namarupa Nirodo Namarupa Niroda Salayatana Nirodho Salayatana Nirodha Pasanirodho, Pasanirodha, Vedana Nirodho, Vedana Nirodha, Uha Nirodho, Tanha Nirodha, Upadana Nirodho, Upadana Nirodha, Bhava Nirodho, Bhava Nirodha, Jati Nirodho, Jati Nirodha, Jara Maranang So Kambharide Vandukando Manatsubha Yasa Nirujanti Eva Me Tatsa Kevala Sanduka Kanda Saniro Dohoti. Very good. Very good. Day one as well. So, excellent. So we'll close now with the final homage, and that I think is on page. Oh, I think for the morning is 16. I think. Page 16 in the dark brown chanting books. You can see now why we encourage you to have both books. Page 16 in the dark brown chanting books. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava, the Lord, the perfectly enlightened and blessed one, Buddhang Bhagavan Tang Abhivademi. I render homage to the Buddha, the blessed one. Soakato Bhagavata Dhammo, the teaching so complete, explained by him. Dhammang Namasami, I bow to the Dhamma. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho, the Blessed One's disciples who have practiced well. Sanghang Namami, I bow to the Sangha. Just leave it at that. So I trust you will all rest well this evening, and we gather early tomorrow morning at 5:30. So jumping in the deep end. So have a good rest tonight, and I'm very, very grateful. Spirit Rock has got a wonderful support system here, and they have got very comfortable and suitable accommodations for everyone. So please do rest well, and look forward to gathering together tomorrow morning, 5:30, for our time to continue together.